Ladies, gentlemen, thems, and zems alike, I am Dell, the Delicious God, back with another Dech Teck. Today I'm talking about another mono colored deck, mono white deck to be more specific. My version of Preston the Vanisher. It's a little big butt guy. It's a 3 and a white legendary creature, Rabbit Wizard from the Jumpstart set. He's a 2/5. And when another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it wasn't cast, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 0/1 white illusion. Then he's got an ability for 1 on a white, sacrifice 5 illusions, exile target non-land permanent. Now, he's a rabbit. I had RK Post do a little tall man altar on that Phantasm, one of my favorite movies. In the movie, he's taken, spoiler alert, he's this interdimensional creature that's taking the dead bodies from our dimension, turning them into little tiny zombies for sale on the intergalactic interdimensional slave market or something. They don't really specify too much, which I like. They turn these like little zombie dwarves, like Jawas kind of. So in its essence, what I'm doing in this deck is making copies of stuff, making little hooded dwarf versions of creatures. I don't do that ability too often. It's all about enter the battlefield, gaining a life. My favorite word, shenanigans, when I'm describing decks. Because at the end of the day, I just want to do some fun, weird stuff. I'm not always trying to win, but there are some pretty decent win cons. I'm looking at the pile of cards off screen over there. The first creature card is technically a win con of sorts. But the goal is just kind of go through the deck. I like to show off my cards. It's just something keep me talking, keep my brain sharp. I'm losing my mental facilities. But I don't know, I just like going through my cards. I'm gonna continue doing this Dech Teck show until I lose interest or run out of decks, whatever comes first. But ultimately, I think eventually it's going to evolve into a different type of show, which we'll go over when it actually happens. We'll talk about it. So until then, I'm gonna keep doing whatever the hell I want. If you guys enjoy it, that's a plus. Not saying I don't do it for the fans, but I also see the views I get, and I don't get too many views, but I really love everyone who watches my videos. I really appreciate Brad, especially. I know he's probably listening right now. Always watch my videos. Always has some interesting insight when I play something weird. Or anyway, you guys, if you have a comment, I misremember what a card does or says, because gosh, I love my foreign cards, and again, off screen there's a foreign card that I'm really forgetting what it does. But we'll get there together. And or anything, I appreciate it when all people subscribe. 200 subscribers. Thanks for subscribing, who those that do. And I'll keep doing this until I get bored. Like I said, low effort stuff. I'm not spending money on the channel, but I'm spending money through the channel, let's say. Does that make sense? Until I get a business account. Oh no, I'm gonna get brought into prison for tax fraud. Is gonna be the video they show in court, isn't it? Anyway, like I said, top creature, mirror entity. It's a shapeshifter for 2 and a white. Changelings, all creature types. Oh, this deck used to be this deck used to be angel typal, and since then there's less and less angels and more weird stuff. I forgot to mention that too, but this is biblically accurate angels. The ability is for X mana until end of turn, creatures I control have base power X6 till end of turn. Gain all creature types. So if I have enough 0/1 tokens, I can dump some mana in to make them all 6/6s or whatever mana I'm at that point. Swing out for some stuff. Even better if they have flying, so I can get through stuff. But every time I cut a card, I always keep this in here because those 0/1s get beefed up pretty good with this. It's a pretty good card. Other card I keep meaning to cut, but I like it. Court Street Denizen for 2 and a white. 2/2 human soldier. Whenever another white creature enters the battlefield under control, tap target creature and opponent controls. It can get some work done. So if I'm getting a bunch of creatures coming in, tokens included, I can tap some stuff down, hopefully swinging for some damage. I don't know. I don't better describe it. It's one of those cards like I think about getting rid of, but it does just enough work that I can't cut it. Speaking of which, Spring Jack Shepherd, 3 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, put a 0/1 white goat creature token in play for each white mana symbol in the mana cost of permanents I control. So for my devotion to white, I get that many goats. And even better, if I can get 2 copies of it, they get twice as many goats. Oh, my favorite. One of my favorite cards. Gary Clone, 1 and a white. It's a 1/3 human citizen for squad 2. So in addition to paying its casting cost, you may pay 2 any number of times, and it comes in with that many copies of it. And when it attacks, each creature you control named Gary Clone gets +1/+0 ton turn. Best flavor text in the game. Gary! I really want to build a pauper deck around it, but there's not enough mana ramp. I wish there was more mana ramp in white, especially for pauper. But I love this card, and any deck where I can make it either a bunch of mana or a bunch of tokens, it's in it. And every once in a while I come across one of these surge foils, and I'm like, yes, please. Never too much money, but I don't know. When they started spoiling Fallout, there's 2 cards in my head. One was Lily Bowen, one of my favorite companions, which I also have a deck about. And the other one was, what did they do for Gary? I thought they were going to do like an instant or a sorcery where you can pay 3 white and X, and you can make copies of target creature for how much you actually paid in or something like that. But a clone ability of some sort. And I'm happy with the way they did it. Okay, our first angel of the day. Well, second angel of the day, sorry. 3 and 2 white. We have Sarah Redeemer. It's a 2/4 with flying. Another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield and control. Put 2 +1/+1 create counters on that. That's important later with some of the other cards. There's a really good synergy with some of the other stuff in here. But this is a pretty good card that once I started cutting angels from the deck, it's one of those ones that keeps remaining. Romana II. It's 3 and a white for a 3/3 with vigilance. 1 and tap, create a tapped token that's a copy of target token that entered the battlefield this turn. Not much explanation there besides I can get an extra token, assuming she doesn't have summoning sickness. It's pretty good. Haven't done too many crazy things with it, but gets me an extra Gary if I need, gets me an extra copy of some other stuff. Pretty good card. Now, on to what I think I glossed over a little bit, so I'm going to back up a little bit. Preston's ability is when a creature enters the battlefield and it wasn't cast. So anything besides casting, you get a copy of non-token creatures. So it's starting with the theme of the deck originally was Resto Angels. 3 and a white, flash, flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-angel creature that returned to the battlefield. So what it would do is bounce something, and I'm going to get a copy of it. There's a lot of effects in this deck. I don't feel like I've explained it adequately at the beginning, but I'm saying it now. If you made it this far, you heard me say it. The other sub-theme, one of my favorite arts when I was a young, hot-blooded boy. Ariok Champion, 2 white, 1/1. Pro black and red. Another creature enters the battlefield or comes into play, gain life. Soul Sisters. I love Soul Sisters. I had like 3 different Soul Sister decks in Modern back in the day. And some of my decks that have white end up devolving into having a sub-theme of it. But life gain is another big thing. I love having extra life so I can have that ability to make it to the end of the game to hopefully do something more. But there's Soul Sisters package in here. Again, I find it more interesting to go through these decks without the little organization I usually do. One, because I'm lazy, but the other part of it, I feel like it makes a more interesting video. What do you guys think? Do you want me to just sit around organizing the cards before I talk about them, come up with a baseline script, or just whip a deck out and show you what I got? Anyway, Felidar Guardian, 3 and a white, enters battlefield, exile no target permanent you control, then return to the battlefield. Mix the copies. There is infinite combos in here, sort of, where I could bounce 2 things and make a bunch of creatures, but then I have to pass turn because there's no way to get haste in mono white that I'm aware of. But I gotta get the English. It's mommy. Elishnorn, Mother Machines. Oh, well, it doesn't help that the card in the list is also in Phyrexian. Let's click on it. There we go. Elishnorn, Mother Machines. I was right. 4 and a white. It's a 4/7. Vigilance. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent control to trigger, triggers additional time. And then it kind of stasis orbs, whatever that card's called. Permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanents your opponent's control trigger. Couldn't remember the exact wording for that, forgive me, but I forget where I got it, but I got this cheap It's probably not even real, but it's got that sick complete foiling on it. I think it's because it was curled, and I got it flat, my guys, my dudes, my ladies, gentlemen's, thems, and zems. I use dudes neutral, but whatever. But I got it cheap, and it's a really sick card for this deck. And there's a couple other ones here people do not like in this deck. They bemoan this deck, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to make copies of dumb cards. I'm not trying to break the game. We got Daxos, Blessed by the Sun for 2 white. A little demigod for 2 and a star. Its toughness equal to your devotion to white, so it gets a big butt. And it has a Soul Sister ability on it when a creature I controls enters the battlefield or dies. Gain life. Flicker Wisp. Sick alien kind of looking art. Like a facehugger moth. 1 and 2 white. When it enters the battlefield, exile another target permanent. Return a card to the battlefield under its own control. Begin the next end step. Newer card. I forgot I had it in here. Enduring Innocence, 1 and 2 white. It's a 2/1 with lifelink. One more creatures you control, power 2 or less. Enter, draw a card, but only triggers once per turn. Anyone dies comes back as an enchantment if it was a creature. This one I got not quite as flat, but it's still pretty flat. Got Delny, another newer card to this deck. Whenever this was spoiled, I had to find a way to get it. This version of the art's pretty cheap. I don't think people like it. I don't care. I think it's cool looking. Little case file. But for 2 and a white, 2/2 Human Scout, creatures you control power 2 less can be blocked by creatures power 3 or greater. Then, if an ability you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So with that angel I briefly mentioned before, it gets 2+1, so it doesn't make it too much bigger. That it can still do stuff with this and trigger. But then also with my mirror entity, I can move to combat, swing, and before damage is dealt, pump them up. So I can get them unblockable, but then pump them up. There's a cool little mini combo for you. Wolford Mott, 3 and a white. You can buy some lottery tickets. It's a 2/4 with the ability to look through the stars. Beginning of your upkeep, put a time counter on them. Then look at top X cards where X number time counters on them. They put a non-land permanent card with mana value 3 or less from among them on the battlefield. The rest on the bottom of your library in any order. He does some pretty good stuff. I get some pretty cool stuff off him. But usually what ends up happening, he might be cut from the deck even though I love this card. I get too much stuff where it's just put to the bottom. I'm like, no, wait, I need that. You know what I mean? He has good value one way, but then I'm not getting a lot of, like for instance, 4 mana here. I'm not seeing enough in the curve where I'm usually whiffing stuff away that I could use. You know what I mean? But, like I said, he's on the chopping block until something better comes along. Until then, I'm just going to enjoy having him. Glimmer Point Stag, 2 and 2 white, Elk for 3. 3/3 Elk for 2 and 2 white. Let's say it like that. He has Vigilance. When it enters, exile another target permanent, return a card to battlefield under its owner's control, beginning of the next end step. Again, bouncing some stuff. Another Soul Sister. Suture Priest, 1 and a white, 1/1 Cleric. Another creature I control enters, I gain a life. Another creature enters the battlefield, I gain a life. When a creature enters the battlefield under opponent's control, they lose life. You may have them lose life. So you gotta remember telling them to lose life. Salvation Swan. 3 and a white, 3/3, flash flying. Same thing as the Resto Angel. When it enters, or another bird you control enters, exile up to 1 target creature you control without flying. Return to battlefield as under control with flying counter to begin the next end step. I've done a little shenanigan with this too, where I got to take it out. I got it and a copy thanks to Preston. I got to bounce 2 things. And I'm trying to remember how I did it, how it stacks. I'm probably saying this wrong, but when it or another bird enters, so 2 of these entered. It doesn't matter if the other one's a bird. But I used the 1 trigger to bounce something, and I used the other trigger to bounce the original Swan. So I got to come back, did something, got 2 tokens, bounced something, and then this card came back. You see what I'm saying? So you had a creature on the battlefield. Snuck this in a way. Got a copy. Used the original one to bounce something. Used a copy to bounce this one. Then when it comes back, it's 2. See what I'm saying? There's a little bit of a combo there. Infinite? Yeah, infinite. But what can you do with it? Not much. Gain a bunch of life, make a bunch of dudes. That's usually all I really do. You do end up with a bunch of birds, which is fun. And you can swing out for as big as you can make them, really. The tokens are 0/1s. Like I said, I never really use the ability. It's just there, just in case. I have done it maybe once or twice. I should do like a fun little tally with Preston to see where I end up using his ability. You know what I mean? Guide of Souls, going up in price. I went to buy one for a different deck, and this is a pretty expensive card now. For 1 white, it's a Human Cleric. It's a 1/2. Another creature enters the battlefield under control. You gain life, and you get an energy counter. And when you attack, you may pay 3 energy. And when you do, put 2+1/+1 counters and a flying counter on target attack creature because of angel and other types. Works pretty good. It's an angel typal deck, but the gain of life is the bigger draw for me. I need it for an energy deck that I'm building. And I don't know, $3 isn't a lot, but it's enough, you know. I'm trying to stay under budget. Vesper Lark, 2 and a white. It's a 2/1 elemental. Flying. When it leaves the battlefield, return target creature card with power 1 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. And it has an evoke cost, so you can get it in. Let me kind of cheat a little bit so I can get this out of the way at the same time. Same with Revilark. Has an ability when it leaves the battlefield. Return up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and evoke cost of 5 and a white. So you basically just put them on the battlefield, or cast them, and then sacrifice them immediately so you get the added ability. I usually like just having them out. You know what I mean? And then they die later. But this is good for most decks where if you need the return ability faster. I don't know. The Vesper looks better, cheaper, but the Revilark, there's other ways to get them out. We have the other Phyrexian art in here. This one I know better, but I'm just going to bring it up. Grand Cenobite. Where you at? And again, the card I have in the list is also Phyrexian. Doesn't help much. For 5 and 2 white, Vigilance, other creatures I control get +2/+2. Because your opponent's control get -2/-2. Again, that 2 is a good number for most of the stuff in here, especially with the tokens. Sometimes it gets a little bigger, and some of those things get shut off because they get too big. But it's a good card to have in white. Sun Titan, it's really great for this deck. 4 and 2 white, 6/6 with Vigilance. Enters the battlefield or attacks me. Return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. I'm doing some stuff. Vesper Lark is a 3-mana, for instance, where I can do some stuff. Right? Icewind Stalwart, another curled foil I've had that got flattened out. Enters battlefield, exile up to 1 target non-warrior creature control, and return to the battlefield. Got a Soul Warden. Another creature comes into play, gain a life. Signed by Rainy Gagos. Speaker of the Heavens. Still in there with the Angel typal. It's just a really good card I can't seem to cut. That ability is really good late game, especially when I'm able to pump out blockers to keep me safe. Got this really sweet Grand Abolisher. 2 white. I forget the guy's name. Friends on Twitter now over on Blue Sky. He looks like this guy. And if I ever get to meet him, I'm going to get him to sign this card because it's just... oh, God, what's his name? Real chill dude. I'm terrible with names. But if you're out there, if you're watching, I love you. But turning your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities, artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. So, keeps me safe while I'm trying to do my stuff. Gale Powder Mage, 3 and a white, 3/3. When it attacks, exile another target creature, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control, begin the next end step. I think it's meant for your opponents, but hey, guess what? It works for me. Got Angel of Destiny, 3 and 2 white, flying and double strike. It's a 2/6. It's this really cool ability. I don't know if you guys have seen this out. When creature control deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each gain that much life. So they're losing life, and then they gain it right back, right? But beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 life or more, 15 life more than your starting life total, each player, Angel of Destiny, attack this turn and loses the game. Isn't that cool? In a deck where you're making copies, you know what I'm saying? Swing at a couple people, you're gaining a bunch of life. You're winning the game, kids. When people realize what that second ability does, it gets removed pretty easy. So, needless, I haven't done that too many times, but it's definitely one of those ones where it's a pretty cool card. Angel of Condemnation, 2 and 2 white, 3/3, flying vigilance, has an ability with 2 and a white, tap it, exile another target creature, return a card to the battlefield under its owner's control to begin the next end step. Hey, bounce on my stuff. 2 and a white, and then exert it, Exile the creature angel with combination leaves the battlefield. So I can bounce my own stuff, which is what I'm doing. But also got a nice ability for if I exert it, I can exile something my opponent controls. Kind of like a stasis ring kind of ability. I don't do it that often. Karmic Guide. 3 and 2 white. Flying protection for black. Echo. When it enters the battlefield, return to our creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Need I say more? Just one moment more. That's kind of sad if you think about it. Angel of Vitality. 2 and white flying. If you gain life, gain that much +1. Then it gets +2/+2 as long as you have 25 or more life. So a little 4/4. Pretty good ability. Helps out the Soul Sisters. If I got back into Modern, this would definitely be a card I put into my Soul Sisters deck. It's a good card. Shepherd of the Cosmos. 4 and 2 white. Flying. 3/3 Angel Warrior. When there's the battlefield, return target permanent card with converted mana cost 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Also has a foretell cost for 3 and a white. During your turn, you may pay 2 and exile this card. Face down, cast in later turn for what's the foretell cost. So you're paying the same amount. I always forget how foretell works. I built a whole deck around it before I realized I was doing it wrong. That's a story for another time. Metastatic Evangel. Technically an angel, right? Has an in name, right? There it is, see? 1 and a white, 3/1 for Phyrexian Human Cleric. Angel. Another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control. Proliferate. Now, trying to think. I get a lot of +1s in this deck, but there's not too much happening where this is a really good card. And I'm trying to think. I'm not misremembering it, right? Proliferates with you adding +1s. What's the one with the tokens? Populate. I think when I pulled in the pack and I'm like, oh, you're going in there. And I think I read Proliferate as Populate. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, wait. But I've had it out. I've learned that lesson, but I've had +1s on creatures, so it has done a decent amount of work. So keep it in the deck for now until something better comes along, but I can think of a few other cards I'd rather have in here, but I don't own, so. Anyway, Distinguished Conjurer, 1 and a white, another Soul Sister effect, where you have another creature enters the battlefield under control, gain a life, and 4 and a white, exile another target creature you control, return to the battlefield under its owner's control. I believe, Jumpstart, but there's a newer printing of it too. I believe it's given the same pack as Preston. The same, deck building pack. It feels like they should have came together. I don't know. We have, is this a game changer? I know people bitch about it a lot. No, it is not. Shut up. For 1 white, a 1/1 human monk, lifelink. But if you have 30 or more life, it gets +5/+5 and has flying. So you get a 6/6 for 1 mana in a game of Commander. And I'll tell you, it's pretty gross. Especially for making copies of it. I love this card. Sweet art. Gets a lot of complaints. This one gets complaints too. This is not a game changer either. Again, shut up. 4 and 2 white, vigilance, 6/6. If 1 or more creature tokens would be created or under my control, 3 times that many of those tokens are created instead. Right? Then when it dies, return to the battlefield tapped and transformed. What does the back do? I've never had it die. I've always had it exiled. Out comes the land. Tap to add a white. 2 and a white and tap it. Transform it. Well, if you attack with 3 or more creatures this turn, he's a sorcery. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen the other half of the game. But that token tripling, whoo-wee, does a lot of work. Here's the Populate card. 3 and a white, we got Nesting Dovehawk. It's a 2/2 bird, flying. At the beginning of your combat in your turn, populate. Then when a creature token enters the battlefield under control, put a +1/+1 counter on Nesting Dovehawk. This little stinker gets real big, real fast with this deck. And I love it. Another one of... Oh, no, never mind. I was thinking of something else. I don't know if it's in this deck. But Celestine, the Living Saint. For 4 and a white, is a 3/4 human warrior, flying lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, return target creature for mana cost X or less from your graveyard, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Bringing stuff back. I was thinking of, what's that one that has Miracle, but also when it dies, it goes in top 6. I love that card. I don't think it's in this deck, but love that card. Gilrain, Dundane Protector. It is 2 and a white for a 2/3 human noble. 2 and tap. exile another target creature you control. You may return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If you don't, at the beginning of the next end step, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a vigilance counter and a lifelink counter on it. So I can bounce stuff, but I could also do a little thing where I can make it a little stronger with a vigilance and a lifelink. Mainly in there for the bounce. Speaking of bouncing, Eldrazi Displacer. One of my favorites back when this card came out. This is towards the end of me playing Modern. This card does a lot of good work. It's devoid, so technically it's colorless. But for 2 and a white, it's a 3/3 Eldrazi. For 2 and a colorless, exile another target creature and then return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Bouncing. Mondrak, Glory Dominus. 2 and 2 white. It's a 4/4 Phyrexian Horror. 1 or more tokens will be created under your control. Twice that many are created instead. And for 1 and 2 Phyrexian mana, sacrifice 2 other artifacts and or creatures. Put an indestructible counter on it. I gotta sneeze. Again, making more tokens, so we don't get too much of that in white. And it's perfect for this deck. So when this card was spoiled back in the day, I knew I had to get it. Southern Soul Sister. Soul's a tenant. Another creature enters. Gain a life. Aether Geode Miner. For 1 and a white, it's a 3/1 Dwarf Scout. When it attacks, you get 2 energy counters. Then pay 2 energy, exile, and return to the battlefield under control. This card, I've gotten it out a few times, and like I make a dumb joke where I draw my infinite token, and I put A dot minor. I'm attacking with A minor. Well, Drake. Kendrick Lamar humor there, right? Wrong crowd. Tough crowd. Tough crowd. Anyway. I like this card. It has a really cool ability. It does nothing but make me smile, attacking each turn, exiling, getting an extra token each turn. Sometimes I get to do stuff with that the energy with the other card in this deck, but I don't know. It's one of those cards I should cut, but it's just so dumb. Ooh. Last creature, too. We got Ulamog, the Defiler. For 10 mana, it's a 7/7 Eldrazi. When you cast a spell, target opponent exiles half our library, rounded up. Ward, sacrifice 2 permanents. And Ulamog Defiler enters the battlefield with the number of +1/+1 counters equal to it, the greatest mana value among cards in exile. And Ulamog has an Islander X, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on. So, if I'm not mistaken, and I think this is how it works, I'm not a doctor. If I bounce this, it comes back with 10 +1/+1 counters on it. Because he sees himself in exile when it's coming back. And it counts himself. So yeah, I get a little token of him that dies immediately. But I get a 17/17 with Annihilator 10. And this has closed out a couple games. There's arguments, but there's rules somewhere. There's ruling somewhere that it does see itself in exile. And I love it. It's one of those cards. It's just perfect for this deck, and I think the only way I'd ever take this card out is if I had a fancier foil version or something goofy. This is going to be in this deck forever. It is so dumb the way that works, and it just makes me laugh. I love it. Anyway, I'm pretty sure this is Ephemerate. We're on the instant sorceries. Let me just double check. Yeah. Ephemerate. For 1 mana, this is a really cool version of it, but the original art is pretty cool too. It's that lion. I have my phone up. You can see it, right? That lion with the little stutter art. Instant. Exile target creature control, then return to battlefield on its control. Then it has Rebound. If you cast a spell from your hand, exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast a card again without paying its mana cost. Excuse me. Just a little, oh man. Talking too much. Just a little bounce spell. Nothing to worry about. I get an extra one in my next upkeep. That cool Bakshi. I couldn't remember to say it. The old school Lord of the Ring cartoon Secret Lair. Not worth it in the long run, but man, I got it because all the cards in it were something I could use. I was disappointed it didn't have better cards for the secret cards. I think it just had fucking Worm Tongue. Great. 1 and a white, instant. Exile target creature you own. Return to battlefield. Control. Ring tempts you. That's the only thing tempted me in this deck, the ring tempt. So, I don't even have it. I only got the copy of the token in this. It's a good bounce spell, damn it. Long Road Home. 1 and a white. Exile target creature, beginning your next end step, return to the battlefield with a +1/+1. Flicker of Fate for 1 and a white. Instant. Exile target creature enchantment, then return to the battlefield under its own control. Otherworldly Journey, 1 and a white. Exile target creature, beginning of your next end step, return that card to the battlefield under its own control with a +1/+1 counter on it. On to the sorceries, we have Breath of Life, 3 and a white. Return target creature card from your graveyard to play. Resurrection for 2 and 2 white. Take a creature from your graveyard and put it directly into play. Same thing as the last one, right? We got Flicker, 1 and a white. Remove target non-token permanent from the game, then return it to play under its owner's control. Another newer card. This is a little weird. Another round for XX, 2 and a white. Exile under number of creatures you control, then return them to the battlefield under their owner's control. Then repeat this process X times. So how much you paid into it extra, it's half of that. Always weird how it's worded. So this is, going back to this real quick, let's finish talking about this. So this isn't, you can just pay 3 and bounce everything I have, put it back, right? Great for this deck. But then I can do that X amount of times more if I pay a couple extra mana, right? Really good. Cloud Shift, 1 white, exile target creature control, return to battlefield in control. Liberate, I know a stupid video back in the day with the Disturb song that I won't sing here for copyright reasons, but 1 white, remove a target creature you control from the game at the end of turn and return a creature to play under your control. And last, the instants and sorceries. Eerie Interlude for 2 and a white. Exile any number of target creature you control, then return to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Again, somebody's going to do a big mass board wipe or something goofy. It's great for that, but I'm doing token shenanigans. That's what I'm doing. Enchantments and artifacts. Bouncy castles, right? Teleportation circle for 3 and a white. Beginning of your end step. Exile up to 1 target artifact creature control. Return to the battlefield under its owner's control. We're going to go ahead and grab the artifact version of that. For 5 mana, Conjurer's Closet. Beginning of your end step, you may do the same thing. Exile a creature, return to the battlefield. Starlight Spectacular. It's a pretty good card. It's one of my favorite cards. I don't want to say my all-time favorite, but this is pretty dumb. For 2 and 2 white, excuse me. There's an ability called Parade. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, choose creatures you control 1 at a time until each creature you control has been chosen. Each of those creatures gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature chosen before it. So the first creature gets +1/+0/+0. Second one gets +1/+1. And then 2, 3, 4. So if it's a shit ton of creatures, I just have to count and show you that I'm going to choose this one to be the lethal one, and that's going to be unblockable. So I win. A lot of fun. Noid Procession, again, not too much in the way of creature doubling, but the last couple of years have been really kind to us with, we're getting a lot more. But for 3 white, 3 and a white, an effect would create 1 or more tokens in your control, create twice that many instead. Card I put in here because I didn't understand how it would work with the deck. But I like the art, and I've used it a few times. I still like it. It's a good card. But Kayla's Music Box for 2 mana, legendary artifact for 1 white, and tap. Look at the top card of your library, and you can exile it face down. Well, then you exile face, you'll get a choice. Then you can tap it until in turn you may play cards you own, exile Kayla's Music Box. Now, I put this in the deck because for some reason I thought I'd get copies of creatures, but it's if it wasn't cast, not if it cast from hand. You know what I mean? So it doesn't do what I initially wanted, but this works pretty cool. Will it get cut? Probably. Most likely. But, neat card, right? Oh, my favorite. Thanks again to Thea for turning me on this card. I think I put it in a lot of my decks now. Lifeline. It's on the reserve list, but it's relatively cheap. I've been buying busted copies. You can see this one's pretty dang and darned up. 5 mana. When a creature is put into a graveyard and a creature is still in play, return that creature from your graveyard to play at the end of turn. Some pretty neat stuff you can do this. Basically, it's just in there if something dies, I can bring it back and get tokens for it. But other decks, it gets really good if I had indestructible stuff. Board wipe, they all come back anyway. But it affects other people's board states too, so it gets a little group huggy. I don't know. I love the card. Cool art too. And Panharmonicon. 4 mana. If
If an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent control trigger, it triggers an additional time. So a lot of ETB stuff. I get to double that all. Not much to say on that, right? Easy peasy. Utility lands. Nothing too fancy. Castle Ardenvale. Enters tapped on control planes. Taps are white. They can make tokens. My favorite War Room. Taps are colorless, or you pay 3, tap it, pay life equal to your commander's colors. In this case, I only have 1 color, so paying 1 life, draw a card. Gotta reach Sanitarium. Tap for colorless, pay 2, tap it. Each player draws a card and discards a card. Ancient Den. I'm just a sucker for putting these in monocolor decks. I just like them. Emeria the Sky Ruin. Enters tapped. Pay your upkeep for 7 or more planes. You may return to a creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. It's great for this deck. I'm bringing goofy stuff back, but it's probably gonna be that Eldrazi. On to the basics. One and on down. I have 3 wastes. Through the years, we got some blessed alternate arts. I think these are all from Secret Lairs. I had like some of the other neat looking ones before, but these are only need 3. They're pretty much in there just for my Bouncy Castle Eldrazi. I probably should put more ways to search for basics in here too, but I don't know. I like this one. I like this one. I like this one. 2 Warhammer and a Fallout. What can you do? And the basics, I got a bunch of planes. Again, varying arts. I've been adding. Had all the weird full arts from like Zendikar, Battle for Zendikar, and I've been slowly like putting in other ones. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool looking. Swapping them out through the years. It hasn't happened too often. It's a relatively new deck, but a couple weird ones in there. Like that one's pretty cool. Anyway, that is my Preston deck. What do you guys think? I like it. It's a lot of fun. I keep telling people it's not high powered, but it does some goofy stuff where it gets scary. If you take a step back and see that I'm making copies of dumb stuff and I'm really only looking to win with like 2 or 3 cards, it's not that bad. You know what I mean? Easy to shut down. I'm really hoping for Gary. I've won with Gary a couple times. That's like my big win con. And then the... Oh, I already forgot the name of it. The one that makes everything XX bigger. I'm tired. Run out of brain fumes. Anyway. What'd you guys think? Fun little deck. Have infinite tokens, so I'm always drawing dumb little versions of it. Not sponsored, but just a fan. That's how it goes. Anyway, trying to think, rambling on, trying to think how I want to end this. But deck's official name is Am I Evil? Be Not Afraid. Still part of that angel theming. But I gotta wrap this up. I'm rambling now. So hope you guys liked it. Hope it gave you some ideas, some pointers. Thanks for watching today on the video. Appreciate y'all, and as always, love you.